Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Innovation Expo 2011. This is our first big session, and wow, what a crowd. How absolutely fantastic. I won't make the mistake that Ronald Reagan made when he was campaigning on behalf of George Bush in the 1988 presidential election. George Bush Sr., that is, and he arrived in this very small town in Ohio, having been told to expect just a handful of people because it was only a photo call, but to his amazement when he arrived, news that he was coming and spread ahead of him, and there were thousands of people overflowing onto the hills and fields beyond. And President Reagan cast around for the right phrase to sum up this enormously impressive turnout. What he came up with was, "Well, ladies and gentlemen, it sure is a pleasure to see such a dense crowd here today." I wouldn't dream of making a mistake like that in such a distinguished company. And I think it's only right and fitting that this magnificent exhibition and conference session that we've got for you should kick off with the Secretary of State, Andrew Lansley. He's been closely involved for 8 years in the National Health Service, probing into it, digging into it in all kinds of ways, first as Shadow Secretary of State for Health, and more recently as Secretary of State in that eminent position itself. So without any more ado, to talk on how the modernization plans will encourage innovation and drive up quality and value for money, please welcome the Secretary of State, Andrew Lansley. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Martin, and good morning, everybody. And I would like to welcome all of you very warmly to the 2011 Healthcare Innovation Expo. People have come from across the United Kingdom and across the world to witness for themselves the future of healthcare, a future that is right here under this roof today. This expo is an exceptional showcase for some of the most exciting technologies and techniques in modern healthcare, and I'm sure you will all find a wealth of creativity and innovation you can take back to your own organisations. As Shadow Secretary of State for Health, as Secretary of State, and before that, when I was in Parliament and before that even, I have stood up for the benefits of enterprise and innovation. I believe that can energise our public services every bit as much as it has done over the years in the private sector, not in any way to inhibit the values of the public services, but to empower those in public service, all of us in public service, to deliver better care more effectively. The NHS in the United Kingdom has a long history of innovation, from Ian Donald, who pioneered the use of ultrasound in the 1950s. Last week I was at the Queen's Medical Centre, where Sir Peter Mansfield first invented magnetic resonance imaging, to the Sanger Institute and the Wellcome Trust in my own constituency of South Cambridgeshire, which developed the first working draft of the human genome in the year 2000. The creative spark that kickstarts the long and often very difficult journey from initial idea to widely adopted treatment is a precious and sometimes a delicate thing. We need to do all that we can to encourage that creativity within the NHS and to grow and propagate the ideas that clinicians and others have for the benefit of patients. The modernisation of the NHS will encourage that innovation in three main ways. Firstly, by putting the patient at the centre of decision-making about their own care. So we need patients to drive need and thence innovation. Secondly, through a resolute focus on improving health outcomes. And thirdly, by placing power in the hands of frontline clinicians, doctors, nurses, health professionals, getting rid of any bureaucracy and constraints that get in the way of them using their knowledge, expertise and understanding to drive the improvements, the culture of continuous improvement. That is the way in which we can deliver the best possible care for patients. Let me take each of those in turn. Putting patients first. The world's most successful businesses, people like Apple or Virgin or Tesco, they have one important thing in common. They all start with an unwavering focus on the wants and needs of their customers. The same should be true in public services, to put those whom we serve at the heart of everything we do. To create a health service that is truly excellent, our starting point must always be the patient. We have passed the point where one size fits all. The future is about personalising care, about tailoring treatment to maximise outcomes for that individual. And here I mean several things. At one end of the spectrum, it's about making the most of the latest technologies, of developments in genetics and of genomics to improve the diagnosis and treatment of rare conditions or to tailor drug treatments to an individual person. The potential in relation to gene-based therapies and the optimization of treatments for people's particular genetic makeup is absolutely dramatic. And I think we're just beginning to discover what those possibilities might be. At the other end of the spectrum, it's bringing together clinicians with their colleagues in social care to build personalised care and treatment packages for patients with complex long-term conditions. But for everyone, wherever they are on that wide spectrum of care, it's making sure that the patient is always at the heart of decision-making processes about their own care. In every case, for every patient, it must be no decision about me without me. By involving patients in their care in this way, a new perspective comes to our service. A consultation room becomes the meeting of two experts. The clinician, the expert on the treatment, the diagnosis, the system. The patient, the expert on themselves, their needs, their desires and expectations. Evidence from the United Kingdom and around the world shows that care and treatment that involves the patient produces better health outcomes, better patient experience, and very often better value for money. Secondly, outcomes. We must drive up the quality of care the NHS provides, not just the amount of care we provide. The outcomes framework, which we published in December, sets the direction for the health service and will soon be the main means of holding the NHS to account for the quality of its care. The framework as a whole and its constituent parts sets the direction for the NHS over the years ahead and the health outcomes we want to achieve. What it does is be clear about what we are trying to achieve. What it doesn't do is tell all of you across the service how to do it. It isn't the job of the Department of Health to specify in detail how people should deliver the best care, because if we try to do that, we delay and stifle innovation in the process. That outcomes framework has been developed after a wide consultation with the public, with NHS, with patient groups. We've included some areas specifically because they received very high levels of support in that consultation. The only problem was, sometimes we were very clear we knew what the outcomes were that we need to focus on, but we didn't necessarily have clear indicators to measure against them. So for two outcomes included in this year's outcomes framework, that is for improving recovery from stroke and improving children and young people's experience of healthcare, and for four others that we expect to see in future outcomes frameworks, that is improving health outcomes for those with learning difficulties, improving outcomes for children with long-term conditions, for children and young people with mental illness, and for enhancing the quality of life for people with dementia. We need your help. Outcomes will be the must-dos of the new National Health Service. They must be the drivers of change. So we need indicators that not only measure the rate of improvement, but help to focus all developments upon a clear goal, that don't distort care, but support the best practice and the best care. So I am today launching a competition to find those indicators. It is over the next 12 weeks, so we're forcing the pace of discovery and innovation here. If you have ideas, we want to know about them. If you're working on something you think might help, please tell us. The details of how you can become part of that process of marshalling your resources and ideas to measuring outcomes in the future for the benefit of patients is available on the Department of Health website today.